The scandalous and shocking realities of slavery in America. The institution of slavery in America left a deep scar on its history, with countless harrowing tales and scandalous truths. From unimaginable cruelty to acts of resilience and humanity, the lives of enslaved people reveal a complex world of systemic oppression and occasional exceptions. Here are 10 of the most shocking and scandalous facts about what it was like to be a slave in America. Number 1. Families torn apart at slave auctions. The anguish of families separated at slave auctions remains one of the most haunting aspects of slavery. At markets across the South, enslaved people were displayed like livestock, with no regard for family ties. Solomon Northup, in his memoir 12 Years a Slave, 1853, described the heart-wrenching cries of a mother as her children were sold to separate buyers. Gone. All gone. Why don't God kill me? Harriet Beecher Stowe's Uncle Tom's Cabin, 1852, vividly portrayed similar scenes, based on real testimonies. Between 1820 and 1860, over 1 million enslaved people were sold in the domestic slave trade, according to historian Stephen Dale. Some parents, desperate to preserve memories of their loved ones, carved their children's names into trees or keepsakes, hoping for a miraculous reunion. In 1865, an enslaved man named Luke searched for his wife and child by posting ads in abolitionist newspapers. His ad read, "Do you know my Mary and baby Sally? Pray answer." Stories like Luke's leave us wondering, how would we cope with such loss? How do we heal from generational trauma? What are your thoughts on this? Number 2. The seasoning process, breaking the spirit. Enslaved Africans endured a dehumanizing seasoning process upon arrival in the Americas. Subjected to physical torture, forced labor, and psychological abuse, they were stripped of their cultural identities and forced into subservience. Survivors were considered more valuable and sold at higher prices. Olata Equiano, an enslaved man who later bought his freedom, described his arrival in the Americas in 1789. "I expected to meet with cannibals. Instead, I met with men far more cruel." Many enslaved individuals resisted by refusing to eat, which led to force-feeding with devices such as metal mouth openers. Mortality rates during seasoning were staggering. Up to 50% of those subjected to this process perished within the first 3 years. Some individuals, however, resisted even after surviving the process. In Haiti, enslaved people who endured seasoning later became leaders in the Haitian Revolution, 1791 to 1804, showcasing that even the most brutal attempts to break their spirit could not extinguish their quest for freedom. Number 3. Instances of respect and dignity. Despite the overwhelming cruelty of slavery, there were moments when enslaved individuals earned respect due to their exceptional skills or influence. James Hemings, trained as a chef in France by Thomas Jefferson, introduced macaroni and cheese to America. Hemings negotiated his freedom in 1796 but tragically died under mysterious circumstances in 1801. Similarly, enslaved artisans such as blacksmiths and carpenters sometimes gained small freedoms, such as living in separate quarters or earning wages. On some plantations, elders were revered as community healers and storytellers. They preserved African traditions by passing down herbal remedies, folktales, and spiritual practices. Levi Coffin, a Quaker abolitionist known as the president of the Underground Railroad, worked tirelessly to treat enslaved people with dignity and helped over 3,000 escape to freedom. How do these rare acts of humanity alter our understanding of slavery? Do they demonstrate cracks in the system, or do they simply highlight individual morality within an unjust institution? Share your perspective in the comments. Number 4. Medical experiments on enslaved people. Enslaved individuals were frequently subjected to unethical medical experiments. Dr. J. Marion Sims, known as the father of modern gynecology, performed experimental surgeries on enslaved women such as Anarcha, Betsy, and Lucy in the 1840s without anesthesia. Sims claimed his actions were justified because of a racist belief that black individuals felt less pain, a pseudoscience now thoroughly discredited. Anarcha endured over 30 surgeries under Sims' care. Despite their suffering, these women's names and contributions were largely ignored for decades. Today, Sims' legacy is debated, with monuments to him being removed in cities like New York. Historian Deirdre Cooper Owens emphasizes that these women's courage and resilience were foundational to advances in gynecological medicine. Number 5. Insurance policies on human lives. The commodification of enslaved individuals extended to insurance policies. Companies like Aetna and New York Life profited from insuring enslaved workers as property. Policies compensated slaveholders for the loss of enslaved individuals due to death or escape. For instance, when the Creole ship was overtaken by a rebellion in 1841, leading to the liberation of 128 enslaved people, insurers compensated owners for their lost cargo. Such practices persisted until the abolition of slavery, reflecting the deep entanglement of financial institutions in the slave trade. Research reveals that many modern companies profited significantly from these exploitative practices, an aspect of history still being reckoned with. Number 6. Resistance through sabotage and poisoning. Resistance among enslaved individuals was widespread and took many forms. Women like Molly, an enslaved cook in Virginia, poisoned her enslaver in 1737, an act of defiance that inspired others. The Stono Rebellion of 1739, led by enslaved men in South Carolina, saw 25 enslavers killed as they attempted to march toward Spanish Florida for freedom. Though ultimately crushed, their rebellion sent shockwaves through the plantation economy. Historian Herbert Aptheker documented over 250 similar uprisings, highlighting the relentless spirit of resistance. Sabotage, from slowing work to damaging tools, was also a common form of defiance. Number 7. The price of freedom, self-purchase. The ability to buy freedom was an option for a small number of enslaved individuals, though the cost was prohibitive. Frederick Douglass, one of the most prominent abolitionists, purchased his freedom in 1847 for $711.66, equivalent to over $25,000 today. Harriet Jacobs, author of Incidents in the Life of a Slave Girl, fled her owner and lived in hiding for 7 years before securing her children's freedom. In most cases, oppressive laws and economic exploitation made self-purchase nearly impossible, yet these stories highlight the extraordinary determination of individuals seeking freedom. Number 8. The role of religion, both oppressive and liberating. Religion served as both a tool of oppression and a source of liberation for enslaved individuals. Slaveholders often cited biblical verses, such as Ephesians 6 verse 5, to justify slavery and demand obedience. However, enslaved people found solace in spirituals, clandestine worship, and African-inspired rituals. Nat Turner, a deeply religious man, led a rebellion in 1831, inspired by what he believed to be divine visions. His uprising resulted in the deaths of 55 white people and harsher laws against enslaved individuals. Turner's legacy remains polarizing but underscores the dual role of religion as both a weapon of control and a catalyst for resistance. Number 9. Forced breeding and sexual exploitation. The sexual exploitation of enslaved women was pervasive and systematic. Thomas Jefferson's relationship with Sally Hemings, an enslaved woman, exemplifies this dark reality. DNA evidence confirms that Jefferson fathered 6 children with Hemings, who had no legal rights or autonomy. Harriet N. Jacobs, in her autobiography, described how enslaved women were often seen as mere breeders. Enslavers like Edward Long openly advocated forced breeding to increase the labor force, likening it to livestock management. Jacobs escaped her owner's advances by hiding in an attic crawlspace for 7 years, a testament to the lengths enslaved women went to protect themselves and their families. These abuses underscore the inhumanity of slavery and its deep scars on generations. Number 10. Freedom at a price, the betrayal of Reconstruction. The abolition of slavery in 1865 did not bring true freedom for many African Americans. The Black Codes, enacted in southern states, restricted movement, employment, and civil rights. Convict leasing, a system that disproportionately targeted freedmen, forced many into labor camps under brutal conditions. Douglas Blackmon's Slavery by Another Name details how companies like U.S. Steel profited from convict leasing, perpetuating exploitation well into the 20th century. Henry Adams, a freedman, testified to Congress in 1874, stating, "We are free, but we are not free men." This systemic betrayal of freedom not only highlights the persistence of racial injustice but marks this period as one of the most shameful and harrowing chapters in American history.